All right, thank you for staying with the Daybreak. The State of the Nation discussion starts right now. We talk about matters, politics, and everything in between there. Let me introduce my guest one more time, starting from my farthest right, Dr. Kuru Okot, the Third Way Alliance. Thank you for making time.
Thanks, Trevor.
Honorable Geoffrey Ruku is here, Mbeere North Member of Parliament. Asante sana for making time.
Thank you, Trevor.
And Honorable Dan Manzo, Senator for Makueni. Thank you very much for making time. Let's start with the dailies, and there's a lot about the floods. There's floods nightmare, and also there's deaths, massive losses as floods cause havoc there. And I'll start with you, Dr. Kuru. Is the government doing enough to deal with these floods?
Actually, you cannot use that sentence enough with the behavior of government. Government is doing nothing to deal with floods. There are a lot of things that government could do. In fact, what this means, Trevor, is that we now need to begin to question some of the institutions, agencies of government that are tasked with matters, disaster preparedness and management. You realize there is actually an office with a full budget in the office of the president, if I'm not wrong, called Disaster Preparedness and Management, I think. Either.
NDMA, National Disaster Management.
Yes, National, yeah, exactly. And therefore, these floods is not a new thing in the history of Kenya. It almost comes, if not every year, almost every 3 years or 5 years thereabout. So we now need to ask the question, to what extent is government preparing for any disasters or whatever, whether it is floods, whether it is famine and drought? For example, now we know the patterns on famine and drought is almost every 5 years. Flooding, I think since the issues of El Nino, it's almost coming every 1 year. We know, for example, River Nyando bursts almost every year in Kisumu side, and we've seen what's happening. So, and also, there are some promises that were made. For example, I wish you had invited our governor, Sakaja, here for Nairobi, to also tell us where are the boats that they had been procured that could actually help people in this rescue mission. So, I think, Trevor, frankly speaking, we are getting our priorities wrong in this country in terms of really fixing the problems that afflict the people of Kenya today, and that's why, for me, I still believe that I know maybe it's not a topic you want us to discuss today. If you look at, for example, the focus of government on the chief administrative secretaries and the cost that comes to it, you can imagine what that money will have done, for example, in alleviating the suffering of people from this flooding. I'm sure now homes will be destroyed. This is a disaster. And I'm sure after maybe these floods are gone, our government will at least step in to say, okay, you lost property. Can we even build you a temporary shelter? You see now other countries in the world actually handle disasters. They will even have temporary shelters. Today, I don't know whether we can actually speak of a temporary shelter elsewhere in this country. I've seen in countries where there's a disaster, for example, hurricanes and typhoons, stadiums will be converted into temporary shelter. You'll see government, you'll see the National Guard, for example, in the case of America, you'll see the military actually stepping in to help the people. We are not seeing any such action in the context of our government today. Yeah. So really, there is no preparedness, there is no management of a disaster. Money is being allocated to some of these departments, but we see zero utilization of those.
But President William Ruto directed the Ministries of Interior, the EAC, Arid and Semi-Arid Lands and Regional Development with the support of the National Youth Service to immediately respond to the ongoing floods. So it's a multi-sectoral approach.
Yeah, but have we seen any response, Trevor?
I mean, they are supposed to kick in actually from today.
Yeah, but see, they can kick in from today, but for how long have people been, homes have been submerged, property destroyed? I mean, this disaster management is not something once it has happened, you cannot now say, oh, let me go to the drawing table. And that's why we have this department. We have got even a department on weather forecast. So they really ought to know. I mean, we've been warned that there will be bad rains, there will be floods. Those forecasts has been there. So government has done nothing until a disaster strikes. And that's why I still go back to this department. Yeah. What preparedness have they put in place for the last, say, 1 year?
All right. Ruku, can the government be squarely blamed for inadequate response when it comes to disasters, especially like the floods right now?
Trevor, we have to ask ourselves which government. We have two levels of government in the Republic of Kenya. We have the county government as well as the national government. So we have to ask ourselves which government is going to be blamed as far as the things which are affecting the funds affecting the common man. One, it is the responsibility of the county government to ensure the drainage systems across the country are well done, are well prepared, because drainage, ensuring there's drainage in Mombasa city, ensuring there's proper drainage in Nairobi city and other cities and towns in the Republic of Kenya is the purview of the county governments. Therefore, we need to put our act in order as far as county government are concerned. The government, the national government, has provided resources, and it is important to note that every county government has emergency percentage which they allocate for emergencies. So we should be able to see county government at the moment, especially where in the counties where people are affected. For instance, Nairobi County is seriously affected. We need to see the county government of Nairobi coming out strongly, using its emergency funds to help the people who are affected. The President of the Republic has come out to form a team which is going to handle what is happening at the moment. But why should the President be going ahead forming such kind of team when we have well-resourced county government across the country with resources for emergency preparedness? So I think those who have such serious responsibility need to take their job seriously, so that we can fight this culture. We have a very bad culture in this country where anything that happens, we start saying government, government. What do you expect when the national government has allocated resources, percentages there for emergency works, but you expect the national government to deploy, let's say, military and start unclogging a drainage system in Nairobi County or in Mombasa County or other counties? So I think we need to take our job seriously for those who are given responsibility, especially running our counties. Is extremely important. The other thing is we have NDMA, National Drought Management Authority. If you look at the Act of National Drought Management Authority, it talks more of issues to do with climate change and how it can be mitigated. What we're experiencing today is as a result of changes in climate. There is excessive rain because the climate has changed. So also, this whoever is the CEO and the chairman of National Drought Management Authority or
National Disaster Management Authority, NDMA.
NDMA.
Yes.
It has changed from drought.
International Disaster Management.
They need to be more innovative in trying also to look for resources which can be deployed across the country, expand their operations. And also inform the people, because once the people know what can affect them, they can also be well prepared. In terms of mitigations.
Honorable Banza, does Ruku have a point that it's a failure on the county governments? Because we've seen certain places where developers did houses and now they've been marooned by floods. Those permits are given by the county government.
Well, both governments are to blame. First and foremost, what happens is that we have a budget for disaster management, which is resident in the national government. And what happens is that when there is a disaster, the monies are supposed to be devolved to the counties. And there is really poor planning, despite all the data. And more important, what you have just asked is the front page of the Nation newspaper today. That estate in Machakos, there's an estate which is just next to River Athi. And when the builders of that estate started, even I remember one time I talked about it on the floor of the house. Coming, from that side of Kenya, I have seen River Athi overflow big time. So what these people did, they have totally encroached, the riparian land. They are on the river. Just like, the biblical story, they have built a house on the riverbed. And they know very well when the rains will come, this house will go. Instead of building a house on the rock, sold it to innocent people. These plans are approved both nationally, because survey is nationally, and they are approved also at the local counties. And they are only approved due to corruption. How on earth, this would never have happened when Michuki was alive. How on earth will you come and build a wall against a riverbed, and there's just 5 meters from that wall, you build houses? And this is what you are seeing in the front page. You can see apparently they are trying to rescue a daughter, and the water is at the waist. Meaning if he steps something and slips, this girl will go with the waters. It is so dangerous. So, in fact, if people were to do a mass suit, you will be able to find the government culpable, and you'll be able to compensate all these people, because the government was negligent enough. But this was motivated by corruption. Unfortunately, the only fight of corruption we have in the country, probably on the chair, is on his own. It's just witch hunt, political witch hunt. And then they always make sure that the evidence never goes anywhere. Isn't that not corruption with the people who are supposed to fight the corruption? In fact, the last time I visited there, I told them, everybody in this country can be tried for corruption, and I think they have a bigger job to do, from the head of state to even the smallest policeman on the streets, because we are all corrupt. And this is why we have this problem. It's a very expensive affair. It costs the government and the people very expensively. Yeah. So the people of Kenya should now become wiser. Why should we have all these roads blocked in Nairobi? In the last 1 year, there has been a county government of Nairobi or Mombasa or whichever town is. Why haven't you not, removed all the clogs and made sure that water will flow? Okay. Similarly, riparian ownership in Nairobi. Most places you build flats, you are an innocent lessee, you are paid rent, and then one morning the flat is full of water because it is built on riverbed. Michuki will demolish all these houses that will never have allowed approval of this. So the government should take charge. All these cars which are submerged, cars be swept away. It's a very big damage to individuals.
Yeah. So you recommend a mass suit?
There should be a mass suit against the government of Kenya to compensate these people, because they will never be compensated and the government will never learn. Okay. And the only cure to a government of this nature is to send it packing and elect people. Kenyans are very brilliant people. Elect people who are not corrupt, and elect people who can stand for the country.
Yeah, but some people argue that this did not start with just this government. Some of these developments
it is worse.
Not even in the seat.
It is worse, including some of these housing schemes of the government now. They're just on riverbed, really. You're just, one day you are going to experience a flood. We know the whole world floods. Yeah. But the way we have managed our own situation here is very careless, is negligent. It shows lack of care of the people, poor planning, and a poor government.
Okay. Joining us now is Honorable Danson Madu, Member of Parliament for Nyeri Central. Thank you for making time. When you walked in, we were talking about the floods. Has the government managed this floods disaster in a satisfactory way?
Yeah, thank you, Trevor. Allow me to apologize for coming a bit late, and to also correct you that it is Nyeri Town constituency. We use the word central when we are referring to the sub-county.
Good.
The government has not done well. But at the same time, who is government? Senator Manzo is sitting in the Senate. Parliament is an arm of government. So as we point fingers at the executive and at the county governments, the Senate is supposed to oversight the county governments. The National Assembly is supposed to oversight the national government. So this failure is systemic, and it cuts across all arms of government, including the institutions where we sit. As we tell the executive, whether at national level or county level, to up their game, the legislature in its oversight role, whether at the county assemblies or in parliament, we must up our game. We are guilty. All of us are guilty in this instance. And this is why. The Senate, in the year 2021, had passed the National Drought Risk Management Act. The National Assembly in 2023 also passed the National Drought Risk Management Act. In both institutions, we have committees that are known as the implementation committees. Where are those committees of parliament
in ensuring that then the legal frameworks are being implemented by the executive, because it is our role to oversight. And therefore, this holier-than-thou attitude of us, the people in political leadership, of coming and back-passing and pointing fingers at others in our country must come to an end. We must, all of us, exercise our responsibility. When you look at the structure of the organization of the National Disaster Management Council, which is an interministerial council in the Act, we will be asking them, where are they? And the minister responsible for special programs today must answer the questions Kenyans are raising. As Parliament, as the legislature, we must, by now, summon that minister to appear before Parliament and explain why we are in this state. So that where there are weaknesses, be they, for example, financial, then we are at the beginning of the next budget, we can provide resources better. At the county level, we have county disaster response management councils. So we must ask where they are. And the governors cannot come crying to the national government. Where are the plans at the county level? When we come to the responsibilities, Okulo Aukot sat in midwifing the Kenyan Constitution 2010. If he goes to Schedule 4, he should be able to be telling us where the responsibilities are. That is his handwriting. And therefore, also the realities that the new constitution has been in place for the last 14 years. Who is dropping the ball? The tendency in this country is to always want to point fingers at the president. The president has crafted his vision. Yeah. He has also assembled a team. If it is the team that is failing, then we must bring it to the attention of the president that your team in this area is failing you. The implementation of the initiatives that we should have in place today should be focused on 3 areas. One, by now, we should have a disaster risk atlas for the national level, the county level, and the sub-county level. And therefore, based on that atlas, and based on the warnings, for example, from the weather forecasting, we should have been able to have the national level advise the county committees that, look, in your area, warn Senator Manzo to move out of Athi River, because this is bound to happen. But most importantly, is the planning element. The physical planning is a responsibility of county governments. The national government provides policy. The approvals is the responsibility of the respective county governments. But at the national level, NEMA is a national government agency. As we call out the Minister for Special Programs, the Director General NEMA and his board must also account to Kenyans on this disaster.
Okay. Yes, right of reply, but I'll take a break.
Yes, I'm happy that Honorable Mathenge is actually bringing in the issue of the Constitution, because this disaster we're experiencing today speaks to the ignorance of people in government about the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya, which they passed. Now, first of all, I want to correct Honorable
Which they opposed.
Yes, okay.
President Ruto never supported the Constitution.
You have opposed very many things in the past.
I'm being positive because it passed in a referendum. So we passed it. Whether you opposed it at that time or not, we now have a constitution. Now, that constitution, first of all, I mean, Honorable Ruku, just to correct you, government is perpetual. So stop asking these very archaic questions that which government? No.
We are talking about we have two levels of government.
Yes, can I explain?
We have two levels of government.
I will explain.
We have the national government and county government.
I will explain to you.
And it is true. All government are perpetual. All government is ongoing. Going concern.
Clarified. Let him.
Yes.
So
let Dr. Kuru stop this kind of demeaning others.
Okay.
No, I'm not demeaning you, Baruko. I'm just saying that when you say which government, you are trying now to blame.
Yes, because it is the county government and national government.
So are we in a marketplace or are we in a conversation?
Means, then I'll give you a chance to respond.
Yeah. So when he asks a question of which government, this is a blame game excuse. Again, I know he says demeaning, but I want him to read the Constitution very clearly, particularly Article 6 of the Constitution about devolution of services. And it talks about, there are two key words there that I think most people in government, especially those who support government, sometimes almost blindly, do not understand. The idea of consultation and cooperation between the two levels of government. So you have a disaster. Where is the consultation and cooperation between the two levels of government? So that then we don't have to say, pigeonhole and say, oh, it's the national government, or it's the county government. There has that to be that consultation. Now, Honorable Mathenge, I think, has brought issue some of the departments. Article 6 of Article 3 of the Constitution goes further to say, if you are a national organ, you must devolve your services to each and every part of the republic. And that's the question you should be asking. This Department of Disaster Management and Preparedness, to what extent has it devolved their services to each and every part of the republic, especially on a matter like this? Is there consultation and cooperation going on between the national government and the county government? Yes. Responsibilities and obligations have been delineated, Honorable Mathenge, in the fourth schedule. But it is not absolute. That's why Article 187 is also very important, that to say you can actually transfer a certain function or power or service to another level of government. It can be effectively realized in that level of government. Okay. And that transfer does not demean, for example, that organ, that national organ that has transferred it. And the Constitution goes further to even give a formula that don't worry, we're not taking away your powers as a national organ. Article 189 talks about how we manage that relationship. So in a disaster of this magnitude, it is, for me, not right to start saying, what is the county government doing? Yet there's a solution within our law. Because after all, Trevor, when something good happens to this country, I've hardly heard or seen that county government taking the praise or, the credit for it. We've always seen the national government. And in any case, the national government, the buck stops with the national government. Kenya is a unitary state headed by at the national level. So whether the county government has not done this and that, but I think people of Kenya expect the government. And when they say the government here, for all intents and purposes, it actually means the national government.
All right. I'll take a quick break. When we come back, we wind up on this issue of the floods and then move on to something else. Keep your views coming at Trevor Mbija at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Daybreak. See you in just a bit.